And red means
go.
Go only on this board. Oh. That's a good vibe. I can hear you.
Another banger. Baby, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom.
You know what? You can never hate on music with an island vibe to it. Never.
it's hard to hate on.
It's-
You
it's-
can say I don't prefer it at this time. I'm not in the mood.
Right.
But you
Can
can't.
you ever be in the mood? Not be in the mood?
Right.
I think it could
That
change
is
your mood.
true.
I think it could put you in the mood.
In the mood, yeah.
To listen to it.
Especially on a day like this, it's all gloomy outside, and then you hear that, you're like, wait a minute.
You just put
There's
close
sunshine in here.
You close the shades, turn the lights on. Like, hey,
I mean,
I'm at the beach.
Afrobeats is definitely the wave right now.
It is.
And I mean,
It's the wave.
it feels
Definitely.
It feels good in your
Soulful.
soul.
Feel good.
Yeah.
It feels
Feel
good in your
good
soul,
music.
right?
Yeah. I like that.
Even though they can be talking about some crazy stuff. It's still,
Yes, they
I
can.
never know. I'm just.
no,
it's
listen.
all about the beat.
Yeah,
Everybody,
listen.
the beat and the person singing, it's all harmony. It's all
Yeah,
one
well,
harmony.
listen
I'm not
to the
trying,
words.
I'm not trying to.
Right.
It's supposed to be good for my soul, man. And y'all just told me that dope.
Well, no, it's
still a
almost
good
kind of
vibe,
like
though.
sometimes some of the songs that, like some of the hip hop songs, you be like, you love that song, but then when you actually hear the lyrics,
Yeah.
you be like,
Right.
yikes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to do that.
Right.
I've already got me. I don't want to go there. I'm good. Thanks.
Oh, what up? Welcome to Bruising Banter Podcast, where the topic is the rockin' and the brew. Well, I be the fuel, and I'm your host, Rob G. And with me, as always, the Legendary Brew Crew.
Legendary.
What's going on, fellas?
Crew. Hey,
Hi.
how you guys doing out there?
We are here.
This is episode 191.
Two.
Two?
This is-
right.
You know, I like.
Yeah, 192.
Sometimes I don't even say anything because I never know. So
Remember
You're
you
right.
fought you the last time.
Right. 192.
You did that intro right and all that.
yeah, right.
It's a 192 Bruising Banter Podcast. So for our first time listeners and viewers, welcome.
Welcome.
Where you been? But I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad you made it. I'm glad you made it.
For our returning guests and listeners, thanks for coming back. And,
Welcome back, guys. Thank
welcome.
you.
And
Thank you
viewers
for
and all that
always
good
hanging
stuff.
in with
Thanks.
us.
Yo,
Appreciate it.
shout out to the
They right
our listeners going up. What was it? 68%? About
68%.
68%.
Only on Spotify too.
On
yeah,
Spotify. I mean, I don't know what the other statuses are.
but they
the
went up
stats,
too. They went up.
But I'm pretty sure they went up too. But
YouTube
yeah,
went
shout
up.
out to
iTunes went up. Alexa, she went up. Amazon, Alexa, that's the same.
yeah, that's
Yes.
the same
But
thing.
they both went up. Google went
Right.
up. Like we went up everywhere. So
Yeah.
thank you guys.
Nice.
Appreciate
Thank you,
that.
guys.
Thank you very much.
We do have
love.
a special guest with
We
us
do.
today because we are on location at the beautiful Painted Stave in Smyrna, Delaware.
Local.
Local.
Yeah. And so we do have Ryan Gomes on the podcast. Welcome.
Welcome. Makes it feel like there's a lot of people around clapping for you with this.
That's what I wake up to every morning.
Nice.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Instead of a other round of applause.
You know what?
That's a good affirmation. to get in the
Yes.
morning.
That's what I said. That's a good idea. Now
Everybody
that you
likes to
said
be
that.
applauded for.
And we should wrap the show right now.
You can't get any better.
Like
The stills will prove.
Yeah, that was
you're right.
nice. That was nice.
Yeah, tell us, tell us, I guess, your official title of here at Painted Stave, and we'll go through.
Well, first of all, thank you for coming.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for your interest in reaching out to
Sure.
to visit today. So,
Thanks for having us.
my official title, we don't have them here.
Okay.
So my business card says modern day alchemist.
Okay.
And that draws on my scientific background. So I have a PhD in molecular physiology.
Oh, wow.
Dr.
This
Whoa.
Yeah.
is smart, super smart guy here.
I don't have to be the scientist today. No science questions come this way, guys. Go over there.
Sheesh.
Well, I left a good paying job to do this,
Yeah.
where I don't take a check, so I don't know how smart I am.
I mean, listen, the PhD says different.
So, yeah. So what do you want to know?
Everything.
Well, I guess,
Everything.
yeah, I guess.
Since you don't have an official title, I mean, you know it all.
First, Modern Day Alchemist is very nerdy and awesome. Like,
Right.
I love
Right.
that title.
It definitely is.
What,
It is that.
What do you actually do day to day? We can start with that.
Yeah.
So presently, I run the business side.
Okay.
So I do make some products. I do a little bit of distillation, but my business partner, Mike, heads up production. I run the rest of the business. That's what I do day to day. I mean, I'm sweeping floors, mopping floors, doing the accounting, hunting for money, deciding what to buy, what not to buy, hiring. We haven't had anybody to fire, so I don't do any firing. But
That's good.
just business stuff, constantly trying to move the ball, trying to position us to be more successful than we are.
I guess I should have started actually. What is Painted Stave? I guess I should have started there.
That's a good question.
Could have. I thought my question was fine, but
So,
It was, but that's a good question.
yeah, absolutely.
so Painted Stave is Delaware's first small batch distillery. Is that me?
No.
No.
So
It's you. It's you. Look. It's just a mic. It's all right. It's fine.
Need a new mic?
Nah, it's good. It's good.
I should be quiet.
I think hold it higher, maybe, because
It's the cord. Yep.
cord.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Just tell me, guys.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was talking, but
Yeah. But I mean,
you know,
y'all know
okay,
what I
it's cool.
mean. What's this up? Keep going, Ron.
yeah, so we're Delaware's first small batch distillery. So we are a grain to bottle distillery, which means that we take local raw materials, we mash, we ferment, we distill. Some of that's barrel rested, and then ultimately after the requisite amount of time, we bottle. So that's kind of what we set out to do, Mike and I, back in 2011. But what we do today, we do a little bit more of that. We make products for other distilleries, so whiskeys and vodkas and things like that. So we call that contract distilling. So we do a little bit of that. But the flagship here, we're about 62 or so 100 square feet is our footprint here in the old Smyrna Theater. And we do cocktail classes. We offer food pairings. Yesterday we did a cookie and cocktail pairing. So we partnered with Sparked in Wilmington. So a little
dang, where was I
bakery
at
there.
for that? Sheesh.
Yep.
I love cookies and cocktails.
So we are a place where we're trying to craft not only premium quality spirits, but offer a very unique experience
Right.
to the customers that come here. So we do a pretty broad suite of things.
Okay.
So we make everything from Delaware's first bourbon in history.
Wow.
We make a Scrapple vodka. That's an oddity, but
that sounds odd.
Hold on.
Keep going.
Let's stop right there. Wait
Yeah,
for
stop.
a second.
yeah,
A Scrapple vodka?
Scrapple vodka.
What is that?
It sounds delicious.
Does it though?
Yes. I love Scrapple. I don't care what iteration.
What makes
it
sense
comes
though?
through.
Because Scrapple's big in Delaware.
Delaware, yeah.
So that is breakfast in a bottle. Think about it.
See, they don't like Scrapple, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't eat pork, but
They have
like,
turkey Scrapple.
yeah, they do, but
I mean, I've had Scrapple before. So
I've had it before,
It
too.
was good when I tasted it. So,
but
I mean,
I'm just thinking, like, what does that give a flavor of Scrapple in a vodka?
So that's and I would love to talk about this more. So flavor is what we're all about, right? Flavor is what beer is all about, and flavor is going to trigger experiences.
Right, that's absolutely right.
So flavor lives in your brain, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So knowing that, Delaware Scrapple is a unique thing, Mike and I set out to craft something that was truly representative of our region.
Yes.
So Scrapple, as you know it, the meat product, the breakfast meat, doesn't exist in that bottle. But all the association of flavor, the triggers of memory, are definitely there.
So all the
Kind of
seasons.
like,
like
the
the
seeds,
sage and all that
sage.
stuff.
So when we distill this, so 40 pounds of Scrapple go in the still over there, right? Along with all the herbs and spices you would typically find. So fresh apples, fresh sage, cracked black pepper, nutmeg, bay leaf, go on and on. And so when we capture that distillate on the other side and turn it back into liquid, condensing it down, that's what we're left with. It's kind of that essence of Scrapple. So your nose.
Have Scrapple essence.
So
Is that, what's that, cologne? You're like, yeah.
I would definitely
They
try.
gonna love this. I'm gonna kill them today.
Only in Delaware. Scrapple essence.
but I kid you not. So
Yeah.
it's we market it towards a Bloody Mary, But it works well in something as simple as a screwdriver with a little splash of pineapple on it, so it sets up really well. Dirty martinis, because it's really savory, right? So you have the savory quality.
Right.
But the oils, the fats, the proteins, those never make it across the column. So what we're left with is kind of a flavored vodka that's.
If you don't eat pork, could you drink the vodka?
If you were, this is not going to be vegan or kosher, right? So if you are in that vein, no, you wouldn't want to drink it. So,
Okay. Would you guys try it?
I mean, the only reason that I would try it is because it is weird to me.
Yeah.
You know how I'll try some. I mean, that's the whole part of any craft. Like, is that when you get into that realm, it's like I'll try that because it's completely out of the norm in my head.
How often do you make this?
So it's not one of our major volume sellers. So we probably make it once every year and a half. We'll make 1,000, 1,100 bottles, 1,200 bottles, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And we sell it. Of all the products we've made over the years, that's the one that's traveled, or essentially around the world.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Of
been
course.
to China. It's been to Russia. It's been Hawaii. People that have connections to Delaware, either the Eastern Shore of Maryland or Western half of Pennsylvania, where they know Scrapple.
Yes.
Right.
They've heard about this. They've had it. And they reach out to us.
Right, because that's how you win. You're like, oh, I got this apple vodka. I got this Scrapple vodka.
Right.
Yeah. I know there's just talking about Scrapple in general, there's a pizza place called Gomes in Newcastle, and they won an award because they made the Scrapple pizza. And it was just like, I just wanted to do something Delaware specific. And once I told them it was Delaware, and everybody was just intrigued by the Scrapple. He wasn't selling it, and I couldn't understand. Like, it wasn't just like how you put pepperonis or sausage on it. It was like incorporated with the sauce. Like you didn't even see the Scrapple for real, but you could taste it all the way throughout. And he was like, we won. So definitely Scrapple connects the local people for sure, even if you don't like it.
Yeah, and that's really dope with y'all not being from Delaware,
But knowing.
Where you're at. Like,
Yeah, so Mike and I, we were introduced to one another by mutual friends back in 2011, when our mutual friends knew each of us were flirting with this idea of setting up a distillery in Delaware. They knew we weren't working together. They knew that both of us at the time were looking for partners. And over beer at Iron Hill in Wilmington, we got together, and I rolled out my business plan, and Mike rolled out kind of a production scheme, and we saw a lot of commonalities, a lot of places that we could partner, and we pretty much partnered on the spot.
Awesome.
But one of the things we wanted to do is not do what everybody else does.
Yes.
Right. So Scrapple is truly reflective of that. The bourbon, the style of bourbon that we make here, even though it's Delaware's first bourbon of any style, any distiller's style, that's truly reflective of being creative, stepping outside of what people are doing.
How so? Can you talk more about?
So most of the bourbons that you're going to come across in the marketplace are going to be on that wheated side, or a mixed rye, mixed wheat.
Yeah.
We do a heavy rye bourbon, so we call high rye. There are a few of these. Basil Hayden, for instance, one of the bigger brands, makes a pretty high rye bourbon. But that's what we do. And bourbon is rye is a grain that adds a lot of spicy notes, dry, Christmassy, clove and cardamom kind of notes to the background of a bourbon. And we just thought it would be fun to get away from what other craft producers that we know, the styles of bourbon that they were making. It just happens to be that we both like rye, so we work with it and kind of make it our own.
So did y'all know there wasn't any bourbon being made in Delaware at the time, or this is just something that came about after you already did it?
So we knew. The whiskey style that was really common in Delaware pre-Prohibition was rye. So that region, so from Maryland, Pennsylvania, rye was the style of whiskey that was widely consumed. So bourbon wasn't one of those things. And the Levy Glasking Distillery down in Dover was the last to make Diamond State. rye whiskey, and they were shut down due to
So
that.
they were making whiskey, but not bourbon.
Not bourbon.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot of people, they get it confused. Whiskey, bourbon. So I look at it like this. So the term whiskey think of it as an umbrella.
Okay.
All right. And under that umbrella are types of whiskeys. So bourbon, rye, Japanese, Scotch, Irish, and all those whiskeys are decided upon their identity, principally to their primary grain. So in bourbon must be made. Well, one, it must be made in the United States. I could take my bourbon recipe to Japan and make it, but it's there. It would
It's
just
a
be
whiskey.
whiskey.
Yeah.
So bourbon is a commodity in the United States, and you'll find these classifications all over. Just like Scotch, we can't make Scotch here, right? So we can make that style of whiskey, but we can't call it Scotch.
Okay.
All right. So
Where's Scotch?
Which is crazy.
Scotland.
in
Scotland, right?
Scotland,
Scotland. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So bourbon is only American.
it's a
So-
it's a commodity of the United States.
Okay.
yeah,
Which is funny because I think somebody who I know is a bourbon drinker. They was like, it could only be in Kentucky. That must be Kentucky propaganda that you can call it bourbon if it's only in Kentucky. So that must be like in Kentucky propaganda. Like, we the only people that can make bourbon.
Right.
You just say if it's in the United States, it could be bourbon.
That's right, and my staff here behind the bar, we get that question all the time. You call it bourbon, but it's
Right.
not really bourbon. Then we get a chance to educate and say, yeah, it actually is bourbon. Bourbon's a commodity in the United States. We follow the requisite, the recipe loosely, from that's handed down by the Alcohol, Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau. Bourbon made in the United States, derived from at least 51% corn. Has to come off the still below 160 proof, has to be finished in a new, unaged white American oak barrel. And, there's lots of other hoops in between. But every product that we make is kind of defined that way.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, Kentucky.
But you can do all of that in Japan, and it's
And
just
not call
whiskey.
it. Yes.
So
It has to be on American soil
That's
to
right.
be. Wow.
If it was
that
going to
is
be
so- that's
bourbon,
blowing my mind.
then it would be in Japan. It would be whiskey from a bourbon mash bill.
Okay.
Okay.
But it was. That just blew my
I'm
mind.
trying to get into some of this what you have going on over here. What are we getting into?
So I didn't know what we were going to get into, but I pulled a few things that we could talk about if you want to.
Sure.
Everything
Yes.
from we just turned 9 years old, November 8th.
Happy birthday.
Or celebrated 9 years.
Yeah,
So
happy
we're in our
birthday.
10th year of
Nice.
operation. And we've enjoyed some really good growth. So I brought that. And we do a pretty broad suite. So we make a vodka. We make an unusual gin in that it's lavender and citrus forward in contrast to heavy juniper notes. We do a lot of collaborations with breweries.
Right.
Where we take finished beer. So, for instance, at Fordham Dominion make a double product called Double D.
Yeah.
It's a double IPA, double imperial IPA. Really, really high alcohol. We'll bring that here after they crash it, and it's filtered. We just pop that in the still and pull off the alcohol. And then that new make alcohol, we call it White Dog. Everything that comes off the still looks like water, right? So it's always, everything's clear. And then that goes into new casks for as long as it needs to sit. So we do a lot of, we've done some products with Burley Oak,
this was the
a
one
lot of different breweries. And then we do a pretty broad suite of liqueurs. We find our demographic, our target audience is really interested in kind of the liqueurs that we release. So we do a lot of seasonal things. Like right now, this sold out in just a week. And this is called a Campfire Cocoa liqueur.
Put that in the glass.
So this
yes.
is so this is coffee and chocolate.
Oh, good.
So
That sounds great.
Behind our vodka base.
Let's taste that.
Glad we
Wanna
know
taste
Let's
because
try
from
it.
now on we'll be on the forefront of these bottles not selling out on us.
Right. Let's try it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's interesting.
But yeah,
All of them are.
that
I
sounds
see the
delicious.
Campfire
So
chai. Turn those bottles around.
I'm definitely interested.
So this is a whole series. The Campfire series
Okay.
is a seasonal series.
I see the campfire chai, the cocoa.
What is that? Ginger and lemon. This sounds like some heavenly things you have going on.
This unlike IPAs, this smells delicious. Like this,
I smell the cocoa and the coffee.
and the coffee up, and the bourbon.
Yeah, it almost smells spicy to me a little bit too. I don't know why.
No, it's definitely coffee smell, and you can smell that the cocoa. It smells just like it sounds.
So this is we work with the Brandywine coffee roasters, you know, and
Oh man,
we make a cold brew with their coffee.
That tastes like you should chew it.
I am to it. I'm going.
Yeah, right. That tastes like a
delicious.
candy bar.
That tastes like trouble.
That is a trouble. It's a troublemaker right here.
You are
Oh my
absolutely
God.
right.
That is. Hold on.
That's amazing.
Isn't that beautiful? So,
That is amazing.
so we started this product. This is my business partner Mike. This is his recipe. We started this. This is our second release, and we increased the number of bottles by 100 this year. It's still sold out.
That's
the
why it
first
sold
week.
out, because people know now. They're like,
yeah.
oh.
This one
Yeah.
sell next year too.
Oh yeah.
I got to be around for this one. I got to.
Well, I know you probably buy a couple bottles and you give away for holidays as gifts and
Definitely.
stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You want everybody to try it.
Yes.
So-
This is
So what we do here is
Trouble is
every
crazy.
every liqueur we make, we integrate it right into, by design, into our cocktail program. So in our current holiday cocktail program, which is before you, we have 3 cocktails there that feature this in different ways. So, yeah, so it's pretty cool the way we roll it out, the way we introduce our spirits to people. So most people are going to drink through a cocktail. They're not,
Right.
you know, our niche audience ideally would be sipping everything neat like this right
Right.
out of the bottle, but we know that's not where the market is. So we build a sophisticated cocktail
I
program.
don't even know if this needs to be in the
that's what I was about to say.
cocktail. It's so
This is
good.
Straight. But what is the cocktail on here?
So
So that the people.
But a
people
broader
know.
audience, you probably wouldn't need to
Right,
make a
right. I
cocktail.
understand.
it. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, so I
But
think
if you're
it's,
just trying to get me in here.
Oh, it's
If you're just trying to get me as an individual in here, then just pour it in the glass.
give me a flight of this. Like this is.
so cookies in the VCR.
I felt that you were gonna say that one.
So that
Yeah.
one's in there. So this is a cookie shot. So we partner with a local bakery up the street called Keys Cookies, and she makes this chocolate chip. Basically, it's a shot glass with chocolate on the inside, and then
God.
this cocktail would go inside of that, and then you
And
just
you can eat it.
you eat your glass.
Get
you
outta
drink it,
here.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm getting that before we leave. Jesus. All right,
Yo, you know what I appreciate is that a lot of things that I'm hearing always says we're with this local. Everything is around you that you're connecting with, like the local bakeries and stuff. Like that's dope. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That says a lot about you.
Yeah,
And
Even
well,
like trying to do the scrapple, going to Fort
Right,
Dominion,
right,
like all the
right.
breweries that you're connecting with. Everything, like you said, everything is local.
Local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Delaware. I mean, maybe you have to do this everywhere, but you know, it's what we do is really hard. So you find people in business that are easy to work with and that are fun. They're doing that. They're in the same hustle. They're scrambling too, and they're looking for interesting collaborations. And so we're all about it. So love to cross promote other businesses that are doing it. So we have a good time.
So there was 2 things that actually I was thinking about that I didn't ask. Where did the name Painted Stave come from? Like, what does that exactly mean?
That's a great question. It came out of a threat of being sued.
Oh, explains it all.
That doesn't explain anything.
Well, stave and then just they'll paint it on there.
That's what you got.
So our original company name, our parent company name is Legacy.
Okay.
Legacy Distilling. So and when we first started to get press that we were going to have this distillery here in Smyrna, newspapers picked it up, magazines, and we got a cease and desist letter from the biggest alcohol conglomerate in the United States. It said, we own that name. And so we took it to our attorney, and he said, well, you could fight it, but you won't have a business. That's right. They will bankrupt you. So we listened to that advice, and we wrote a letter, said, okay, we'll keep this name as our company non-public name, and then we'll find a DBA. And so Painted Stave, my business partner Mike is a former educator, history. And so we went on this search for a name. We had a long list of things that we were kicking around. And he came across this reference where barrel staves were painted and used as early signage outside of what I would call a watering hole, but a place where you could buy beer or cider in the day. And as early signage, the way they were used in this piece of history is that the barrels would sit outside of a building. If the painted staves faced the street, the passersby would know that they had beer or cider for sale.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And the simple thing is when they were sold out,
They closed.
they just
They turned
rotated the
around.
barrel.
Open and closed.
So that's right.
Yeah.
And it's just very
They
simple.
were open.
So think back to where people didn't read, they didn't read
Right.
well, so they had very simple signage, and so we said, yeah, let's do that. And so we have on the east and west side of the building, we have our signage. The painted staves
Right.
are facing the street.
Yes,
and
yes.
this big sign out here by the front door. That's what it is. So
Nice.
we always have booze. We ain't running out.
Yeah.
Come on in.
That's right.
You said your partner's a history
Yeah, so
educator?
he was
he definitely
teaching
dug
history in
there for
elementary
that.
school.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
wow.
Yeah.
What years were they doing the painted staves?
Oh, so this
remember?
is, gosh, I don't remember exactly, but this is in the,
'Cause you said
in,
that
the-
now
in the
reading.
1800s.
Yeah, they're not reading out here.
Definitely
Yeah,
dirt roads and horses.
Yeah,
and-
horses and buggies. And stuff.
Well, another question I guess I didn't ask, or maybe we did. I'm not sure. But so when did you decide, like,
That was what my second question
yeah.
was.
I
That's
wanna
why I said
do,
there were two
I
questions that I
I want
didn't
to do a
ask.
distillery like you were doctor doing your PhD in.
That's how you PhD.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a fun story too. That's a great question. And when I was last being paid regularly, I was employed by Penn State College of Medicine in Hershey. So as an assistant professor of orthopedics, I was running my own research program, and I got there via Delaware. So I came to Delaware to do postdoctoral work in developmental bone biology to marry with my PhD in skeletal muscle physiology.
You did
So-
leave behind a
so-
lot of money, you know.
That's why he keeps bringing up he don't get paid.
So that means it's passion. That's his passion. What you're doing.
Yeah, that's
and that's
true.
why he wants to wake up to these applause too. All coming together. now.
That's absolutely required.
It all makes sense.
So when I had my lab and teaching med students and residents and, kind of honing my skills as a scientist, one of my fellow researchers, fellow faculty members, Tim Brady, is a fantastic home brewer. And occasionally Tim would bring in some beer and we would talk about it. And, we'd make a little bit together every now and again and kind of compete, but he was far, far beyond me for making good beer. And so one day, Tim dropped this white paper on my desk and said, you got to look at this. It's really, really interesting. And we're going to be in this region presenting our science where one of these distilleries are. And I'm like, distillery? What's a distillery?
Right.
And long story short, this white paper talked about the rise of craft distilling in this country.
Right.
And so what we did is we presented our science, and then we went to this distillery, and I immediately saw application of my background. I immediately thought I saw opportunity. I was naive, but that was kind of the spark for me, and that was a spark. But the way I am here today is with all the patience of my wife, all the support of my wife, and Mike would say the same thing. We couldn't be here without them. So getting that permission. And the reason why I left the College of Medicine is because academic science is broken. It was broken then, it's still broken. I was watching a lot of talented people leave their profession or get squeezed out of an institution to go off and do other things. And it was already very stressful. So doing science is all about having money.
All right.
So you write a grant, you get it funded, you can employ people, you keep, and that was so much more challenging than they ever told us it was going to be, and the pressures from the institution to bring that in. So ultimately I said, at some point, this may not work. So I need to find something else to do.
Right.
And my wife said, you like to do this other thing, and you're pretty good at it. So why don't you give it a go?
Shout out to the wife.
Round of applause for your wife.
Really? Because my wife would have been, you better sit your ass down and stay where you at.
Right. Your 9 to 5 pays these bills, sir. do that from 5 to 9.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
What you'll find in a lot of craft brewing and craft winemaking, craft distilling, a lot of people don't leave their day jobs.
Right. Yeah.
Right? But what we do here, you absolutely have to be all in. So I left mine first, and then Mike shortly followed after. So we're in it.
That's what's up.
Yeah. That's scary to me. Like that's
Yeah.
and it's funny because you do hear a lot of people that we talk to in these breweries. A lot of people do say they still work a 9 to 5, and then they come to the brewery when they get off and work even more. So for you to be able to follow your passion like that, that's good, man.
Yeah,
it's still scary.
Yeah,
but
we've grown
good.
the business, so we got I don't know, we got 22 or so employees here at the distillery, and then through the food truck, which is a separate business, but I'm in it all the way. Got another 8 employees there, so I never imagined. So we got about 30 employees.
Yeah.
You know, all those different needs to be met. It's quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we've been able to figure out how to make it
Good.
work.
That's good.
So once you rolled out your business plan to Mike and he rolled out production things, how did y'all come upon this beautiful building, but also choose Smyrna? Or did Smyrna choose you? I don't know.
That's a great question. So a little bit of both, actually. I never imagined we'd be initially in a building like this. The reason why we're here in this building, we were going to set up in the Smyrna Industrial Park,
Okay.
just like a typical craft
So
brewery.
right. Yeah.
The gentleman, the local gentleman, Ed I, that we met to help us build that space out, heard what we wanted to do, saw how eager we were and how committed we were, and felt that we would quickly outgrow an industrial park space.
Right.
And he said, I got a better idea in mind, and brought us back here. I had already toured here. I had a friend of ours, my family's, brought me through here in Clayton, looking at different properties. And I couldn't afford to be here. This place was falling apart when I walked through it the first time. And Ed brought us back here, and he says, I think you need to be here. And so he bought the building with us in mind.
Right.
Wow.
And then he leased it back to us in a way that we could afford to launch a business.
That's good that somebody else saw
that
vision.
Yeah.
Like,
And he didn't drink anything but Pepsi. He don't drink any liquor, no beer. He didn't drink anything.
Wow.
but he was like, "Wait, y'all on to something?"
Yeah, so somehow we convinced him just through our passion and our drive. Maybe the credentials behind us. I don't really know. I've never really asked him why he committed to us, but he leased it back to us, and then as we continued to grow and the space out there and the production floor was starting to fill up with barrels, it was getting tight, getting dangerous. Mike and I felt we needed to expand, and the only way to expand was to own the property. So we subsequently in 2017 started having conversation and purchased the entire campus from him, about 26,000 square feet. We purchased.
Okay.
So we owned that, and we added a 4,000, well, it's almost 5,000 square foot pole barn. That's where our barrels are housed. We built out the outdoor space that we toured earlier. It's about 8,000 square feet. We call that the cocktail garden. And then in 2020, we started a separate business and added food truck. Food truck took off, and then in 2021 we had another food truck, and that was out in the road. And it's just crazy.
That's a good pivot. You did this twice. Talk about this food truck because you introduced us to this food truck when we got here. The food is delicious.
Yes, it is.
He says he makes tofu tacos, but I never had one, and I seen it on the menu for the first time, so I didn't know it existed. He said it was good. I really enjoyed the quesadilla. What was the reasoning behind? Everybody knows you need a food truck or you need some type of eatery at your distillery, but it's not inside. Is that on purpose? Is that
We're not a restaurant.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is
Yeah,
that
we're not a
regulations
restaurant.
and things?
So that makes it much easier. And then you can look at the space. It would cost a lot
Where would
more
you
money
put it?
to
Yeah,
put a
right.
restaurant
Yeah,
in there.
absolutely.
But the food truck came about. So when we built the distillery, much like a craft brewery, Autumn Arch, you were there last night. So my second food truck goes to Autumn Arch and supports their activity. So when we built the distillery, we thought that food trucks would come and support us. Well, we tried to build programming around food trucks supporting us, and then food trucks don't show up. So imagine trying to run a brunch program.
With
You
no
got people
food.
lined up outside. They get their Bloody Marys, but then the truck ain't here. Can break down, whatever
Right.
it is. And you hear that enough, and you get really frustrated. So I happened to be venting my frustration to a food truck operator, and I said, I think we're going to have to build our own truck. And but neither Mike nor I want to be in the restaurant business at all. So he said, well, if you're serious, I got somebody in mind who could be a partner for you. And I said, yeah, I'm serious. And he got on his cell phone and brought over this 20-year-old kid, scratch cook, not classically trained, and he's now my business partner. He's 23 now, and he's also all the food is at his hand. He's never been to Mexico, and he's only been to Colorado. Is the only other state he's traveled to. So, but he's making this wonderful food.
Yes, he is.
But now we can utilize his skills and his passion, his motivation, his energy to grow additional programming. Here at
Right.
the
That's what
distillery.
I was going to say. That gives you another option to work with.
And we do that. So we have these ticketed dinners where we pair our cocktails. We go off this menu and pair it with his food. So
Nice.
do duck confit and risotto, mushroom risotto. Just different things. It doesn't have to be.
Where am I at for these events? Like, what
So,
the?
so you got to get on our
What am I
website.
Get on the
sleeping.
website.
I am.
Website, newsletter.
I've been
everything.
sleeping. I love some duck confit.
You know what confit is?
Yeah.
I don't. I know the duck part. I like that.
Cooking in that duck fat, boy. You don't know what you,
No, that's the confit,
I'm
right?
telling you, boy. I'm telling you. Your boy be eating.
I can see. I can see. We've had this discussion today.
But it's been a nice way to take somebody out of our community here.
Absolutely.
My
Right.
business partner Cheeks he's from Philly, but he did high school here in Smyrna, so he's from Smyrna.
Yeah.
He did high school here, like his bid. He's from here. He did high school.
He did
here.
high school here.
That's
Yeah,
how
he
we
made it out.
That's how Delawareans do it too. If you did high school here, you're from here.
Yeah. Facts.
That is. He did high school here. A couple years, 4.
He did his 4 year, 4.5.
But it's really cool to see, take a young man.
Especially, that young,
I mean,
yes.
I couldn't have had a business at 23.
Right, yeah.
I mean, my mind was just all with the ladies, chasing the ladies.
Yeah.
Business.
I'm out here making
And
money.
then the fact that you, because thinking to myself, I have a 21-year-old son. I'm like, I can't even imagine trusting him at 20 to be able
Right,
to
like
handle
you
something like that.
having trouble with
You
the
had
brunch truck coming. You got a 20. Like,
right.
I know you.
I'd have
was
been
just
like, you should have told me he was 20.
did he?
Yeah. No, we knew he was young. So, but
How did that like? Because I know you have to be apprehensive because of his age.
his uncle's a talented
Vouch for him.
food truck operator.
Okay.
Said that he helps me on my trucks. He has several trucks, and then they have a brick and mortar restaurant in Philly. The wife is a traveling chef, so
Okay.
he's coming
Okay.
out
So
of,
he's coming. Okay.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is the family business.
he certainly has cut his chops, and
Right.
and
It wasn't like he started when he was 19 cooking, and now he's 20 running. the
Right.
business.
He's
been cooking.
he's been
That boy
around.
been in the kitchen.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, do you guys still do any other food trucks, or you just keep it mainly just what y'all have?
So mainly what we have, but on occasion we'll have other trucks here. We used to have a food truck competition
Okay.
pre-pandemic.
Okay.
All those things are slow to come back
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
But I could see us doing that
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a judge for that. Put me down.
Right?
Put me down.
Keep in mind.
Yes, please do.
It seems like everything happens kind of like serendipitously. I guess like you were thinking about starting a business, and Mike was too, and I got together, and the same thing, like you were venting to somebody about having a food truck, and then it all happened. That's pretty cool that it was all this is meant to be, I guess.
He makes me think that I don't speak my mind enough. I need to get out here and just start running my mouth. Like,
tell people what you want, bro.
Well, because sometimes they tell you, don't tell a lot of people your dream, just do the dream and then show them. But if you
But
tell
then on the
people,
opposite end, people are like, you don't say what you want and you're going to get it.
Well, you certainly won't find that in a business plan for us. I mean, the food truck wasn't
right.
working within the town and, being a good neighbor, making friends, all that's in there. But yeah, the idea of having our own food truck, a lot of what we do, we go where we need to go. And the advantages of being small is you can pivot in a heartbeat. Like during the pandemic, I was asked last night, how was the pandemic for us? And the pandemic actually turned out to be okay for us. Why?
People was drinking.
On a dime, we switched from making booze to making hand sanitizer.
right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so we're supplying hand
Nice.
sanitizer to hospitals and first responders, and then once they had what they needed, there was a market for it, and people wanted to buy it. They were reaching out, do you have hand sanitizer for sale? I need to run my small landscaping company, and my employees need to have. So that for
That's great.
4 or 5 months ended up being quite lucrative.
Wow.
And helped us survive the real tough time during the pandemic.
Do you still do hand sanitizer?
We're not allowed. So the laws were changed
Wow.
to accommodate that emergency need, and lasted about 2 years or so.
Okay.
But yeah, we
It's like that the World War II, World War I type laws where they changed to be able to do stuff that makes sense.
That was necessary for help. Wow, that's crazy.
If you were still allowed, would you? That was allowed. Would you still be making the sanitizer?
Not unless there was a market for it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But there's some big companies producing this stuff.
Yeah.
In ways that we can't, and for a lot less money.
Absolutely.
Right.
But all those challenges were there. I mean, glass challenges, plastic challenges. That we still have glass challenges. So some of our products, like this past year, same product in 2 or 3 different bottles because we couldn't get glass.
Oh man. Yeah, that we've had a discussion with even like breweries about the glass situation during the pandemic, how messed up it got. So it didn't dawn on me that it would hurt distilleries too. But
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, because glass bottles,
Yeah.
aluminum, all that kind of stuff was just in short supply.
Short supply, you got to pay up front. Normally you would have, net 30 or net 60 on an invoice, but now it's write us the check, we'll send the bottles kind of thing. And, you got to hunt for a supplier.
right.
So
Now here at Painted Stave, y'all do quite a few different events or creative events and pairings. Like I think you have a donut one as well,
donut pairing, yeah.
and I guess the duck confit thing as well. Like how does those
Don't
come
forget
together?
that mushroom Zoto.
Mushroom Zoto.
Yeah, don't forget about the risotto.
Okay.
Got on you.
But so how do those events come up? Like how do you create those, or do you just talk around with the staff? And like how do you think about the things that you should pair with your beverages, I guess?
So we definitely. So one of the things that I pride myself on as kind of a small business owner is we really try hard to draw input from our entire team.
Okay.
All right, we really do. We reach out. Doesn't mean we always get it, but we do try to incorporate them. For instance, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but I'm trying to develop a new liqueur flavor, and so I've made my first 3 iterations, and I'll give it to my bartenders. Won't tell them what it is. I said, just give me opinions. What do you like? What do you don't like? And so we do this in the entire team to try to build a product. But there really are, for those kind of events that you asked about, there's 4 of us. So there's myself and Mike. On our social media side, so our website, the look, the feel, the Instagram, Jenny Holler does that for us. And Jenny's been with us quite some time. And then Angel, my bar manager, we sit together and brainstorm. So donuts, we did a bread and butter pairing last year that I didn't think it was going to work, but man, people loved it.
People love carbs. Yes.
People love their bread.
Bread and butter.
But selling that, I mean, we did it the way we'd always do it. So we do it up and we try to bring some quality to that, and we're shopping all throughout Delaware to find unique bakeries, people that are making good bread.
Yeah.
For our donut pairing, we went to D.C. and Baltimore. I went into Philly. I mean, I literally drove my car to Philly and I'm waiting, to get fresh made donuts.
Yeah.
So and then we bring that in. So, we go.
I would have liked to be at that bread and butter. I mean,
I would like to do the.
he talking about he didn't think it was gonna work. I mean, come on, it's a whole scene. That's my bread and that's the bread and butter. Like, come on, that's the reason that people say that.
different breads and different butters.
So when you come up with the food thing, like, so how do you decide what spirit to pair with those? Like, do you do a lot of testing? Like, I don't want like that.
Is it really,
or do you already know?
or is it?
No,
just,
so we don't
is it
know.
normally a cocktail that's being made that's paired with it, or okay.
Yeah, so we'll sit with our team. So once we decide, say it's the donuts we're going to do, so we'll order some donuts. We'll bring them in. We'll sit down with our staff, and we'll have some ideas for cocktails, and we'll roll those out. We'll sit, eat, and drink, and taste, and see,
I thought you were going to say, sign me up for the next.
No, we already know.
Yeah, so with Sparked in Wilmington, they were excited. They came down. They brought their team down.
Oh, nice.
They brought down some cookie samples before we decided. We did the cookie pairing yesterday. So they brought down some samples. We knew ahead of time what they were going to bring down, and so we had some time
Already
to brainstorm
paired up,
and put some things together, and then we just taste what works, what doesn't work,
Right.
and have a good time.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Yeah.
I don't need to be. Here we go. I don't need to be paid for R&D. Give me liquor and cookies. Tell me let me bread and butter and liquor. I'll do it.
What other liquor can we get into?
Yeah. So since you already got something sweet on the palate, let's stay with that. So let's talk about this. So I am working on a springtime liqueur that is kind of built from my heritage.
Right.
So I'm Cape Verdean, and
Cape Verdean?
yes.
Okay, explain that to me.
So off of the west coast of Senegal, there's a chain of islands. So and my mom and dad's parents came from the island of Fogo, and so the Cape Verdean Islands are an independent nation. Originally flew under, most recently flew under Portuguese rule.
Oh, okay.
And were a bit of a stop for the slave trade before they came to the Americas. I've never been. Would love to go. Would love to go home. But as we try to build interesting products, obviously ones we hope people will like and sell. We're always looking for unique ins and outs, and so this is one of those where I've drawn from my heritage, where there's this hibiscus tea that allegedly originated from Senegal that the Cape Verdeans took and made it into their own. So they added their own herbs and spices. So what I have here are 3 versions of this tea that I've then turned into a liqueur.
Okay.
And so, as I said, I was doing some tastes, and I'll probably make 6 or 7 more of these with different iterations, different flavorings, different seasonings in them. But if you want, we can taste it.
Yeah,
So currently these aren't out.
No, this is totally.
This is some R&D.
Yeah, R&D.
First R&D with Painted Staves.
So if your glass is clean,
Yeah,
just,
I mean,
or just
I do
take
some water.
We've done some water in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I normally do that with my
With your
when I have
beers?
my beers. Clean it in.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna get a little bit more splashing in there because that cocoa was a little
It's rich.
It's rich in it.
Definitely
The
fills the
flavor
glass.
is almost in the glass now.
Yeah.
So we'll do this, and
That's lit. I like
we'll
that.
do this kind of blind in 3 iterations. You don't have to drink all of that, but
Yeah, right.
and then we can talk about it at the end.
Yes, you do. You got to drink all of it.
That's smells delicious.
It does.
It looks like a wine.
It smells like potpourri.
Oh man, that does smell good. Now put this on your neck.
Oh, that's good right there.
Oh man, what is happening
So what
to
I'm
my tongue?
Is that pomegranate? What
so,
is that?
So what I'm trying to get to is something that's going to work well in the spring with
Right.
springtime
Yes.
springtime cocktails.
Yeah.
So lighter on the
Pastels. Yes. Kentucky Derby.
and something that will work well right out of the bottle. So,
Right.
It doesn't need to go in a cocktail. So,
No, it definitely does not need a cocktail with that.
Oh man.
You can drink that straight out the bottle. Oh my goodness. It's like check. What is that?
Delicious is what it is.
So this is our in-house vodka, and then I'm flavoring it, right?
This is
so
vodka?
yeah. So it's our in-house vodka.
Did you think
Wait.
vodka?
So
No.
that's the base spirit. So we make a wheated vodka as the base spirit, and then
How smooth is this vodka? Because
so this is a proof. So this is
okay.
proof down somewhere between probably 25 and 30.
okay.
30%
Whew.
alcohol. So it's not. It's yeah.
Not like, oh my goodness, it's not like vodka.
Because I was going to say that's what your vodka
So-
starts off like. What the freak?
So here's a slightly different version of that.
So then I'm gonna ask you what makes them different.
Well, no, you got to taste all three of them, and then we got.
Yeah.
He's gonna ask us what was the best.
Well,
So that's actually the simplest question that I'm asking my team right now. What do you like the best? I don't need to know why, but which one do you find most approachable?
That first one, y'all can smell a lot more than this one.
that's gonna be hard. That's gonna be hard because this is good.
But it's a different. This is like tastes like plum.
I'm still rocking with number one.
Yeah,
so
number one.
far,
Number
so
the
far.
pomegranate is better.
Pomegranate.
Pomegranate is one.
Whatever
But
you think it tastes
this
like.
plum is good too, but it's softer. It's not as sweet. Yeah, the plum.
Yeah,
So that's
definitely.
why you're giving it the pomegranate versus the plum.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
other
just
one
the-
did
the
lean.
You don't know
slightly-
that that's what's
I
in
have
there
no
at all.
idea. I have no idea. I think this is plum though.
It did lean a little,
really do.
little sweeter. The other one did.
Yes, the first one.
Not much, but a little. Yeah, the first one.
The plum one. The second one is
Plum.
Yeah, the plum one is more of a softer sweetness, like a plum
Yeah.
would be.
Right. It doesn't.
Like your best plums aren't the sweetest. Plums aren't sweet like strawberries, aren't sweet like pomegranate or cherries, but they're still sweet in their own way. You know what I mean?
So what's fun for me is that so your palate memory is your palate memory. So
Yeah.
if it's plum to you, if it's pomegranate to you, it absolutely is that because that's what your brain is saying.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But to somebody else,
Yeah.
it could be totally different.
They're gonna say it's blackberries.
You taste blackberries?
That's right.
Yeah. I could get that.
Yeah.
I can understand where you go with that.
Yeah.
But see that power suggestion
Right.
is very powerful.
Yes.
It's very strong.
Yeah.
And then I used to do
Is that why you
blind
don't?
tastings.
That's why you always do blind with the staff.
So I don't. I'll tell you at the end what's in it, but I don't want to be leading.
Right.
Right.
So we actually have. I developed a scoring sheet for tasting.
Okay.
For nosing, and so for each of our cocktails, when we build a menu, our staff sits down, they taste them, and they go through the scoring process so that they can understand it. And then the intent I had was to create a kind of a norm, find out where the middle ground is.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years, I found out it doesn't mean anything.
Right,
So a failed experiment. But they find it useful to go through and break down the cocktails the way I have it set up to be scored. So.
Okay.
Then the last one here. So, yeah.
While we're tasting this one, how long does this process go from like recipe to in the bottle here, or from recipe to sell?
Well, the reason why I'm starting now for spring is because it does take some time
okay,
from label
okay.
design. There is an approval process with the Alcohol, Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau.
Oh, so you have to send this away, and they can say this isn't good.
No.
Or they can fail it or whatever. However?
So we have to undergo what we call a formula approval for the manufacturing of this, and they basically want to make sure it doesn't have anything that's prohibited in terms of being used. But there's nothing in here that would be a problem.
Okay.
But we get approved for making it, and then that approval would be attached to our label. And we can only submit the label for approval after we have the formula approved to make it. So.
Dates.
I was thinking cranberry.
Dates.
So which one of
Something.
these is more complex? First, second, third.
More complex.
Flavors.
I think The first one, I think, felt more complex to me. I could be wrong, but the first one did.
I think the first one did too. Now, the only reason I say the first one
It's
did.
this one to me. The third one.
Third one?
Yeah.
The first one did to me because it seems like I could. How can I explain this? It still had an alcohol flavor to it. Like, this is not safe for me to drink.
Yes, I'm gonna disagree with you.
This
None of
almost
these are
feels
safe.
like I would guzzle
I've-
this
I've
one,
had-
though.
I've
I feel
had
like
four, I've had 4 of these. It tastes like a chocolate bar and 3 different fruit juices.
Well,
It's
the
all
first one
chocolate.
felt a little. It was sweet, but also there was a little spice
you could
in there
tell.
as well.
I think that's what it.
I didn't feel any.
I think that's
you
what
felt
gave me the
alcohol
liquor.
heat?
No, alcohol. He just there was like I don't know something like coriander or
Yeah, okay.
some
It's like
pepper
actual
or
spice.
something to that effect.
Yeah,
I could
maybe
be
that's what I'm
wrong,
thinking
but
about.
that's-
Is makes me feel like it still had alcohol in it.
Yes,
But
I
these
don't
feel
think-
like they don't.
I feel like none of
the
these
other two
three
do. I
have
feel like
alcohol
it.
So
at
the
all.
success in this part of this business is exactly what you're talking about. No, you don't want to recognize the alcohol,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yes.
So you like the flavors, you like, and you of course like the effect of the alcohol, but you don't want to have to taste it. And so that's a delicate balance and getting the flavors just right. So it works out.
I mean, to be fair,
They're all
all
great.
three would be
Right. Yes. Yes.
no help.
No, don't get me wrong. All of them are delicious.
but I think one would be my
And then,
my top choice.
you know what I thought about? I said 1, 2, but after I thought about it, I'm like, I wonder if it's only because I went from having the cocoa first and then switching up to that being the next one. Yeah, so I don't. It's hard. It's
It
hard.
is. It is very
I think
hard.
as far as
hard.
complexity, I think the third
That's
one is
hard.
the most complex, but I like the first one the best.
Okay.
Yeah, my palate is always sweeter.
So
And I
these
think
are
that's the
just
sweetest one.
these are just iterations of the first one. So this tea is built around hibiscus and ginger. So hibiscus and ginger is
That's
in
where your
all of
spice
them.
came from.
It's in all of them.
That ginger.
And I would agree. That's probably where the spice
Yeah.
came from. If it's not an alcohol spice that you're finding.
Right.
And then the sugar that I'm using right now is a dark brown sugar. So that's going to give me a lot of molasses. It's going
Right.
to give me maybe some spice as well.
Right.
But it's going to be very much in the
The
background.
dates.
So that's constant throughout all these. And then in the second one, I've just added some lemon zest to my boil. So when I'm cooking this, and that's giving you that light citrusy note. And then the final one, there's, instead of lemon zest, there's orange zest, but there's also clove and cinnamon. In
That's
that
why
last
you
one.
said
So
that was the most complex.
and it is the more complex, and
Yeah.
it's more fall-like to me. There's nothing wrong with it, but I
Yeah.
don't think that will work in
For the spring, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the first one gives you that
Springtime.
springtime.
Yeah.
And
Remember
I think
Pat-
Man,
it,
I'll
it
fall
also,
in spring into all
it
of them.
also had a lot of things
was-
that
it
you
was more
smelled.
floral.
Like it definitely was the more
Floral,
floral.
yeah,
sugar.
that's
Out of
true.
all 3 of them, at the first
Like-
one, you could smell the
That's true.
most. And then, it smelled like springtime.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
that.
so that nose is going to be really important because
Right.
before you hit your lips, it's going to go
Which
through your
one are
nose.
you on right now? Which one are you thinking?
Oh, none of these right now.
He just still working. He just still working through it.
Like I said,
He
yeah,
said he's going to do like at least a couple
three.
more.
You said
6.
He want to
yeah,
have 6.
It'll be
yeah.
6.
all total, there'll be 6 or 7 of these
Yeah.
variants, and I'll try different. I'll try agave sweetener. I'll try some honey. As I pulled through the literature to see how
Yeah.
this tea is commonly
Yeah.
served, they use different sweeteners.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Maybe some pure cane sugar, probably not. I'm thinking something low glycemic because we've never done it.
Right.
So, and people with
Have you had the tea?
no. And it's funny because when I talk to my family members that have traveled, they've never had it either.
Whoa.
So, but this is in Cape Verdean books and
yeah.
and recipes as a tea. So,
Yeah.
but the tea is really simple.
Now, when you're creating some of these flavor profiles for the different spirits, do you do the same type of process? Like, it normally take about 6 or 7 iterations before you say, or is this just one because it's like close to home, so it's a little.
I wish I could say yes, but not always.
Okay.
So sometimes we're going too fast, and it's a bit of a criticism I have for the way we do it sometimes, but not always.
Okay.
So sometimes the first time you put something on the shelf is the first time you made it. So like this here. So last year I wanted to make an unusual chai liqueur. This didn't come out how I intended.
Okay.
but it sold.
Yeah,
It
people
sold
like
out.
it.
People liked it,
Yeah.
and so what I like,
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't
Right,
matter.
right. Yeah, that's
so-
absolutely right.
So this year, this is the first. This is last year's. I brought this from home because we don't have any more in house. It sold out this year, but I tweaked it. I understood, a little bit of. At least I thought I understood what I did last year that maybe I want to try to improve upon.
Yeah.
So you
got
tweaked
better,
it. The
yeah.
tweaked is in that bottle.
No,
No.
the tweak is in
Oh,
the
you-
one
you-
that sold
oh,
out.
it's the
It's
sold
sold
out.
out.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
he had to take this home.
And I don't know if those nuances connect with my demographic.
Yeah.
They connect with me. It's
Right.
different. So, but it's still sold out. So,
Yeah, did good. Yeah.
people say if it ain't broke, right?
Right.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Right.
Are those the size bottles that you sell?
so these are the liqueurs. So,
Okay.
so the liqueurs go in these bottles. Our main, and these aren't necessarily our main products. The products I have in distribution are in 750. So
Okay.
this bottle here is 750, and this is holding our 9th anniversary bourbon. But this is only sold here. So there are only 250 bottles, and we didn't put this in distribution, so it's only sold here.
Yeah.
So we can get into this. This is
Well,
a fun
sure,
whiskey.
Sure, we can. Let me.
But let's go into the liqueurs a little bit. Like
Yeah.
when you sell those, and like on the website, do you have like recipes? Like this is what you can use, like different recipes that you can use for
Cocktails.
for the cocktails and stuff like that.
Yes, we do have some of those, and then more commonly what happens is people reach out through email, and we just if they want to know what the recipes are for these cocktails, we openly share them. So
Okay.
Good.
Some of them are a bit involved. I warn people up front. Yeah, you got to make some syrups. You got to get in the kitchen a little bit.
Right.
You got to make a
'cause-
cookie glass.
So we do a cocktail class here. So
Yeah.
where
Nice.
we,
See?
where we
See? Yeah, that's right.
We deconstruct and reconstruct cocktails. You make a cocktail. You learn how to handle the tools of the trade, how to put a cocktail together, and along the way you learn some history of the cocktail, as well as get exposed to some of the ingredients and why they're used and how you may interchange your ingredients. For
So
other
when you
things.
do these cocktail, like those cocktail programs, is it like a one night thing, or is this like,
It's a one-night thing.
oh man, that sounds like a
Yeah.
good date night?
Do you
Yeah.
take some of that content and put it on TikTok? Because that
We-
sounds like a TikTok.
We have not. During the pandemic, we were doing a little bit of that video, but yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a good date night.
Yeah, it definitely.
Yeah.
But but in terms of the content, TikTok,
yeah.
like tipsy bartenders and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and
Right.
making drinks, especially with your own liqueur and whiskey and stuff. I think that's nowadays it's a match made in heaven. And social media definitely helps with liquor brands, for sure.
What has this business been like with you being a black man in this business? Like, gift or a curse?
I don't know. It's just the business.
Just business.
Yeah, only recently has anybody even noticed. I mean, it's true. I didn't start the business because of the way I look. It came from, I enjoy the process.
Right.
Right? And the struggle is real. It's ongoing. And I really enjoy the process. I enjoy the creative process. I enjoy the extension of helping our staff grow and do the things that they want to do. Cheeks is a great example of that, the food truck partner. Those are all the things that make me feel good. But the reality is, and I didn't know this until really the George Floyd stuff hit mainstream media. People started reaching out and say, "Hey, there's not a lot of African American distilleries. You're the only one in Delaware. You're the only African American distiller in Delaware, right? Right now in this modern age." And
Right.
and I pause and look around and go, "Yeah, there's one guy that's making beer that I know of, and that's about it."
Yeah.
And so after that, and then people start peppering me with questions and interviews and podcasts, and so I felt I needed to go and try to understand actually what was the status of women and minorities in the world of distilling. And so, still on that quest, trying to understand that. But as I understand it today, there are two other gentlemen that came before me that in terms of having their own federal license. So I have two licenses here. I have one through the state of Delaware, but the federal license to have a distillery is called a Distilled Spirits Permit. And I'm allegedly the third person in modern day history to have that. And Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have the business without it.
Right.
So it's a necessary hurdle to jump through, but I never even thought that it was a significant thing being African American. What we do here, it is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I get $300,000 or so in equipment. Just production equipment alone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's $300 a barrel new. That's with shipping.
Right.
So bourbon has to go into a new barrel every time you make it. You can't reuse the barrel to make bourbon. You can reuse it, but it's not bourbon.
Do you send them out to other places, like for breweries and stuff?
We do a lot of collaborations. Actually, I get us. How many we get over there? We get about 8 barrels. If any of y'all need barrels, we get, So that
But you have to buy them brand new.
we have to buy them brand new. So I have
Yikes.
a Cooperage in the Midwest. The barrel mill out of Avon, Minnesota, is where we get our barrels. And there was a trial and error process on that, selecting what the right oak
wood,
for,
yeah.
for your.
Is it
for your
always
barrels.
oak?
For what we do, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with some exceptions, we finish in some French oak. We haven't finished in anything outside of oak. But other distillers will use exotic woods for their whiskeys.
I'm so interested in the bourbon process, like that, knowing that it has to be a brand new barrel, and can you talk more about that? Like, does it just answer like you said? What we're about to taste is 9 years, so y'all started that the first year y'all started.
So it's our 9th anniversary bourbon, but
Okay.
it's in here. The liquid is 6 years old.
Oh, okay.
So and
I mean, that still sounds old to me, but
Yeah, that's a long time.
it's a long time to
yeah,
wait.
yes.
So
Is
think
that the oldest? Is that the oldest liquid that
No,
you have?
we have some 7-year-old bourbon
That's just
right
sitting
now. So
crazy to me.
yeah. So you start to understand the madness, right?
Yes.
So you laid down that money, so
Right.
production money, barrels, and then you're waiting,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And you're losing volume
Right.
Yo, this is
to,
crazy.
to evaporation.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
gonna evaporate. It's gonna
And-
go into the wood. That devil's cutting all
The
that.
angel share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Angel share.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Man.
So you start to understand why the cost
So
of
you have a 7-year-old bourbon right now. Is it gonna be 20 years old? Is it, are you gonna leave it, or you?
Man, 20
and then how do
years.
you?
So
That's
I'm,
a long
not even.
time.
I'm
15?
57. I don't know if I'll be around. we might.
But like, how do you like? Do you have a barrel?
So-
and you're like, I want to do a 7 year. So we wait 7 years, then you take some of it off, and then you're like, we want to keep it for 10 years. How does that work?
Yeah, so most bourbon that's consumed in the United States is going to be aged somewhere between 6 and 8 years.
6 and 8. Okay.
Yeah. Aging a bourbon for 15, 20 years was never even thought of until last 10 years, last 5 years.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it would never have been done.
Right.
It would never have been done. The school of thought would be that you'd ruin it.
Right.
But this is sales and marketing.
Right.
And people found a way to convince people to buy, whiskey that's really old, and
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's better,
Yeah.
right? So it's up to you and your palate and your wallet
And
on whether or not you
How
use
about
it.
And
with
I think
paint-
normally, if you think about it, like those are more expensive bottles.
Right, but
because
what
they've
he's
been
saying is they
sitting
may
so long.
not be the necessarily the
Right, but
they're
it may
only
not
more
be the
expensive
best.
because because of the cost.
Right.
Right, but he's saying that they may not taste the best, and up to 10 years ago they were ruined bottles. It was swill. It was nasty.
Well, so a distiller would make those statements, whether or not they were factual or true. So
Okay.
there might be some that are quite good depending on how they're finished.
Right. Okay.
But
How about
yeah.
Painted Staves? What is y'all's limit? Like how old?
So we
would
don't
y'all
have
go?
the limit. We're a young company. The
Okay.
limit would be based on demand. So I got about 300 or so barrels in the barrel house now. And that's not a lot. It's a lot for a small guy like me, but it's not a lot if we were to suddenly get big orders
Right.
and had to release products.
Right.
So one barrel.
so-
How many bottles would you get from? How many 750 bottles would you get from a barrel?
So it depends on the age, right?
Yes.
So,
Remember,
so,
it's evaporating. So.
Right. That angel's cut.
so we fill 2 different size barrels. The vast majority of barrels that we filled are 30-gallon barrels. That's what's on the floor out there now. But the industry standard is a 53.
Oh, okay.
Right, so we have laid down some of those. The 53s are definitely not going to be dumped early. So those are going to be dumped 6+ years.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because you need time to oxidize, to essentially mature the contents in the barrel. So you need that wood interaction, liquid wood interaction to change the chemistry, to develop those flavors that people like in their whiskeys. Okay. And that's just all takes time unless you're going to do some experimenting with the aging process.
This is very interesting.
Yeah, man.
So it's not like finishing. Like in beer, you're finishing, right?
Right.
So if you're going to put beer in a barrel, you're doing it 3 months,
Right.
maybe 6. That's a long time.
That's a long time,
You have to
yeah.
make sure that the barrel's not, carrying any bacteria in it, because you just screw everything up. But we don't have the concentration of alcohol that's going into the barrel is quite high, so you don't really have to worry about a lot of that on the spoilage side. Wow. So we'll wait as long as we can.
Yeah.
And the market will kind of dictate how long that wait is. So if our 6-year-old or 7-year-old bourbon, which we haven't tasted in some time, is competitive with big names, and that's what we'll shoot for.
Yeah.
So the Delaware climate is dictating all that. So the barrels breathe, they expand, they contract, they drive that chemistry and those flavors. So
how often do you taste?
So certainly every year, but about every 6 months. So and we don't taste everything. So the barrels there, they're we store our barrels in a pallet. So they're palletized, so they're stacked up. And so in contrast to a bigger operation, which might shift those pallets around or shake the contents, we don't do that. So that they're all there. They're
just sitting there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to ask is, what is it like with this location being next to a church?
And across the street from a fire
and
station.
across the street from a fire station. Like
on Sunday.
But liquor and church,
they go together.
They do.
Jesus' blood is the wine.
Communion.
I'm just saying.
How has that acceptance been?
So it goes back to an earlier question that Rob asked about, did Smyrna choose us? That how we find ourselves here. The real estate's right in terms of cost. The high throughput traffic on 13. We thought we were in a high traffic corridor and pull people off. That hasn't necessarily panned out the way we had hoped, but nevertheless, we still attract people from Annapolis and Baltimore and Philly and Massachusetts, New York and New Jersey. So we get some regional traffic in here. Certainly before more of that before the pandemic, and it's still correcting. But the other side of that is Smyrna chose us. So once I guess the who's who of Smyrna heard that a couple guys were nosing around this building and looking to bring a distillery here, and people wanted something here, they hosted us in one of the historic residences, and kind of rolled out the red carpet. The town manager, the mayor, they invited us, and we went and met folks, and they were very welcome.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And so that just it just dovetails right into the church next door. We went over and met Pastor Riley, and said, hey, introduced ourselves. This is what we want to do with this building over there, and what do you think? And he's of Scottish heritage, so he didn't have much of a problem. And in the end, what's happened is he's a good neighbor. So when we expanded to create our cocktail garden outside, he had a chain link fence between our property. And we said, hey, do you mind if we dress that up a little bit, put something a little nicer? And he said, no problem. So we paid for it.
Yeah.
So we paid for that, and then we used their parking lot for overflow parking. So when they needed some repairs done in that parking lot, we utilized some of that. So we put in our money to help with that as well.
Awesome.
So
community.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's the way it should be done.
Yeah.
So and in return, during the summer months, if we have nothing going on here and they run in their Bible study and they want to be outside, well, we're not using the garden. It's there. Yeah.
And there may be some people in the church that don't necessarily approve of the alcohol because that church goer, some of them don't. But when you're showing that you're just a part of the community,
Right.
it's just as good as having the fire station across the street or the church next
That's
door.
right.
Everything's a part of the community.
And at
You
the end of the
understand?
day, this could just been either just a raggedy old building,
Right, it was falling apart
Or-
10 years ago. Yeah.
could be a parking lot. I mean, it could be absolutely nothing here but grass. And so-
If you're benefiting, like they built the fence, like they use the overflow, they can come and do Bible study here.
Right.
You can't really
Right.
argue if you guys are keeping your doors open, like
Right.
they should. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
So it's not
Yeah.
somebody has a problem over there, but their voice isn't loud enough because the pastor and the rest of the congregation sees the
Right.
benefit.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they love what we've done.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've
For sure.
taken this eyesore, this undeveloped property,
Yep.
and
I wonder if they would have had the same energy if this was a strip club.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't know. Now
Probably not.
Pop-Up can come over here for a drink, but Pop-Up can come
Ain't
over
going over there
and
for-
go to that congregation.
Now going back to like the business side in terms of like you were saying, like you can't get this particular bottle anywhere else but here. Where do you distribute? I guess where can you get Painted Stave outside of here?
yeah. So that's a great question. So you think about this from a business. So a lot of people assume that our business success is in distribution. And for a small guy, you've done enough breweries, you know this.
Right.
So most of the small breweries, most of the small wineries, they don't distribute.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they have distribution, it's tough to run the business on
Right.
those winnings.
Right.
Same thing here.
Okay.
So for every bottle I sell here, to capture the same kind of margin, depending on the product, I need to sell between 4 and 5 bottles in distribution.
Wow, that is crazy.
Right?
Right.
And so think about it.
That is crazy.
So I do the bulk of my business here just because of that haircut with the distributor and
Right.
then the retailer markup and all that, and the fact that I can't control the brand message in a liquor
Right,
store.
right.
I can't be there all the time,
Yeah.
courting it, getting the product
it
pulled.
up.
Right.
Fun.
It's
Yep.
funny
So-
that you said that because when I went to when I went to Total Wines, there was a liquor that a liquor that I found, a vodka that I found. And the only reason that they remembered what the vodka was, the workers there, is because the person who owned the vodka company, they said that they came in there snapping on them because their vodka was placed at the bottom and not at the top. And so it's like the placement of it makes a difference
Makes a
because
big
it's
difference.
there.
People pay for that placement.
Right,
They pay
right.
for that.
And
Yeah.
they said
That's why
he came
was
in there.
snapping like-
He came in there
He was snapping
snapping
because he paid for
Yeah.
that placement.
Yeah,
Y'all put my
so-
stuff at the bottom. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, so if you got it in your own spot, you know where it's placed at
Yep,
versus
exactly.
trying to go through that. Yeah, that's woo, boy.
And Total
And then
Wine,
that markup is just ridiculous. Like
yeah,
5
yeah,
to
in the
1?
markup. That's crazy.
Yes.
yeah.
And the distribution is for, I feel like the distribution is for your customers more so than you. Because like you get your name out a little bit if you got a distribution deal and you got something in California, yeah, somebody sees it, but it doesn't. Are they going?
Yeah, so that is
tough.
the tough part of the
Yeah.
business, and it is. So when Mike and I get into these discussions, I've learned over the years that my sense is that we as a small producer, we have no business. The way we're capitalized, we
Yeah.
have no business trying to sell volume products. It's a volume game in
Right.
distribution. We just can't afford it. I don't have the kind of cash.
Yeah.
We're not making that kind of return. So, we take such a haircut out the door. So, but to answer your question, we are through Total Wine and their Spirits Direct program. We are as far south as Georgia.
Okay. Oh.
We just registered through another distribution company called Liberation Distribution. They're kind of an online kind of warehouse, if you will. They don't have a brick and mortar as a distributor.
Okay.
But they can get our products in the hands of retailers and typically bars and restaurants in Florida. So very soon we'll have an opportunity in Florida. But presently on the shelf, I have products in Georgia, South Carolina, Jersey, as I come back up this way, of course, Delaware. We go up to Massachusetts. Through Liberation Distribution, I have products going into New York on occasion. Then we go out west, so Missouri, Chicago, which is really just Chicago, and then we hit California. So that's kind of our distribution. So all told about, I don't know, 10 or 12 states we're in. So Maryland we're in. But the bulk of the business is right here.
Right.
Yeah, and why not? Because it's a nice establishment. Right. So
I remember, friends, if you see them in your area, you got to buy 5 bottles.
Yes. Don't buy one.
Good point.
That is a good point.
That's a very good point.
He definitely had to buy 5 bottles.
If you want to support, don't buy one.
Now you also talked a little bit about now you do some contract brewing. Like how many people you contract with you to do their brands as well? Like how many people now do your?
So let's see. We have contracts with. I don't want to name people.
No, you don't have to name, but I was just.
So we have one product on the shelf here. We make for a local family. We make their honey liqueur.
Oh man, it's so good. Is that Halo?
That's Halo.
Oh man, it's so good.
So yeah, we make that for a local family. But I think all told about 5 right now.
Okay, all right.
So and people constantly reach out. A lot of times, what happens? People that aren't in the business, they want to have their own vodka line.
Right.
And so we'll sit down and we're a small producer. It's
Right.
more expensive for us to make a product for them than it would be if they went to a larger producer like MGP, who makes the bulk of the whiskey for the United States. So, so it's an economy of scale kind of issue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because it may be easier to talk to you to get it out, but it's going to be more expensive with you because you're a smaller operation.
Yeah, and we're nimble. We can do whatever you want. So to some extent, with some limitations. But and then we also produce. We have produced spirit for the marijuana industry as well. Okay. So all those.
Whoa.
So the way you make a business like this successful is you have to have, and we've learned this on the fly. You have to have multiple lines in the water.
Right.
So different revenue streams.
Yeah.
Different programming. So we're having a drag queen bingo on Thursday.
Nice.
So we're looking for something different to do on Thursday to bring people in.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been a huge success for this community, and we're happy to do it.
Absolutely.
So you're just thinking out of the box.
Yeah.
All right. So we've been tasting this, I guess, for a while now, right? So I guess we should taste it.
So what this is our bourbon, so our high rye bourbon, finished for 4 years in our standard 30-gallon cask. And then it spent another 2 years in heavily used red wine casks. So typically when people, so that you could call the red wine aging as a finishing, but typically people would only do this for about 3 or 6 months. But we did it for 2 years, and so you get in my head you get a lot more flavor integration. So where you have one product, you don't have 2 products in a bottle fighting itself, trying to for identity. So, but this is proof down to 96, so it's good. We call it. So this is branded under our old brand. So we used to have Diamond State bourbon. And we no longer have it, but we had some leftover labels, and so
use them.
That's right. It's not going on the shelf anywhere else. And there's no confusion.
Right.
So,
I realized that distilling is my patience probably ain't good enough. I'll be like 2 years, I'm ready to drink now. Like beers, even I'll be like struggling waiting with beer.
Waiting for beer, yeah.
All you be drinking is water.
Right. Come on, yo, I'm ready to.
So I'll walk you through a bit of nosing, and kind of tasting 101. Since this is whiskey, and you're not going to shoot this. This glass that you have is actually a tool. It's called a Glencairn glass, and it is a nosing glass. And the shape of the glass is designed to hold on to the aromatics. So all the volatile compounds that are evaporating off the alcohol that your nose can recognize, this glass is trying to condense those and present those in a way that you can then study it. So what you don't want to do from a glass like this is sniff heavily, because then you'll defeat the glass and you just get alcohol. You get alcohol burn. So what I suggest to our team and people is to inhale gently through the mouth with your nose in place as you move the glass up and down, left and right, in and out. And what you're trying to find, and I'll show it. I'll demonstrate it in a minute. What you're trying to find.
I tasted it when I did that, though.
Yeah. You're trying to find a location relative to your nose where the alcohol, the offensive qualities of alcohol are in the background, and the the aromatics coming off of it, things you want to identify, things you want to connect with, are in the foreground. And so it would look something like this.
Oh, Ron's the man.
And softly inhaling through the mouth, and when you find that location that the alcohol is in the background and those notes, those other notes are in the foreground, that's where you kind of hang out. You may come, exhale, come back, and try to find that location again, and ask yourself some very simple questions. What do I recognize?
Caramel.
Cherry.
So
That smells like some caramel
I would
smell.
say cherry too, or grape of some sort type of.
So everybody, because everybody's palate's different, your palate memory is different, your access to your palate's different.
Yeah.
So everybody will come up with different things that they recognize. And that power suggestion we talked about before,
right.
you didn't get caramel before, but because you said it, now you're getting caramel.
Yep. Cherries.
I don't know caramel.
Yeah. And
What do you get?
So there's, I'm biased because
Right,
I know
you
what's
know
in
what's
here.
in there, yeah.
So, and that doesn't help. But this process, so by nosing, you're actually tasting and discovering flavor just through your nose. That's just the way it works.
Right.
Now, the way we do this, when we put this in our mouths, it's actually not on our tongue that we get flavor. Your tongue only gives you sweet, sour, salty, savory, bitter, right? So it still is your nose that will ultimately get you flavors. And so once we get this in our mouth and we're kind of lightly chewing on it, the liquid compounds that are not volatile in the glass become volatile in the mouth. And so you get different information coming off of the dilution in your mouth and go into your brain. So it's a really complex, I think, a really cool process.
Yes.
But we call this retronasal kind of tasting. So we're doing an orthal. When you take it in, out in one direction, that's orthonasal. Retronasal is when we're slowly exhaling and our nose is still taking it up and doing the flavor assessment in your brain.
You know what's funny? It makes me think of, I was watching something and they said if you close your eyes, right, and you don't inhale it, if somebody puts an apple on the table and an onion on the table and you don't smell it, you can't tell the difference when you bite it.
Yeah, think about when you have a cold and you're like a head cold, really strong head cold. What happens to food?
And everything tastes like nothing.
That's right. So you may hold on to a little bit of sweetness or sourness.
Maybe some spice because it's hot. You just not even taste the spice, but just feel the heat. Yeah.
Your nose
Right,
is,
so
your nose
flavor-
is definitely a big part of your taste.
Yeah, so flavor goes out the door when you have a head cold.
Did you know all of this flavor profile stuff before distilling?
I had some appreciation for the neurobiology side because I've had these courses, and gastroenterology is a relatively new science, but so how this is done, in other words, but because of my background in physiology, I had some understanding how this is done, but we're really in our infancy is trying to understand this. And that, believe it or not, the pandemic, the fact that people were losing their ability to smell has driven a lot of the more recent science, the NIH's funding, because there's a real medical need to be able to do this. So it's pretty cool.
That is warm.
It's one of the senses.
Did you sip it yet?
Oh, man, yeah, I did.
Yes.
So-
yes,
Sip slow.
that is bourbon.
Sip slow. This is not what we had before.
No.
It's not the McCoors.
But the crazy part to me is that at the first sip, it's a little sweet,
And then it tells you
and
no.
then it says, "Hey,
Yeah, not that
I'm
sweet.
bourbon.
Yeah.
this is bourbon."
I'm a gangster out
I
here.
like it.
So when you mouth this, so your tongue is recognizing the sweetness, and it is sweet up front. But as you add your saliva to it and start to mouth it and coat your entire mouth, that's what you want to be doing. You don't want to swallow it right away because you're going to get all that alcohol burned down your
Almost
esophagus.
switch it around.
Not switch, but it's a
Just like a
gentle
chew
mouth.
almost, like
And then what you want to do is exhale through the nose softly, and then start to think about the flavors. So
This is a thinking man's drink.
yeah, a little bit.
Thinking person's drink. I'm
It
sorry.
tastes different when you tell you to do it like that. It tastes different than it do just drinking and swallowing, taking a sip.
Yeah.
It does taste different when you not swish it, but make sure it gets all in the
Yeah.
whole mouth.
So when
then
you
breathe it out through your nose.
You're really tasting it.
You
Well,
can
allows you
taste
to
it.
really appreciate
Right.
the craft of
But even like the burn is not even there like it was the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the chest burn.
Yeah,
is
so
not there.
so typically at a tasting, I'll say take that first sip. This is going to be the one with all the heat. So we need to acclimate those soft tissues in your mouth to the concentration of alcohol. If you don't wait too long, or if you don't rinse in between, and then you come back for that second sip, that burn is
that could-
typically
softer.
gone.
So
or,
that's what
or
that
much
could
softer.
be what it is. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's fun. So I would ask you, so is that caramel note that you got on the nose right out of, that was so abundant for you, is that on the palate?
No,
No. Yeah.
not at all. Actually,
I have no cherries.
Yeah.
you have no cherries. And now the weird part is this vanilla-y to me, like a vanilla flavor.
I don't know what. I'm not trying to let the power of suggestion make me think it's vanilla.
Like a cream, like
a cream soda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting that flavor. I think that's why I said vanilla.
It's like a non-carbonated cream soda.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's fun because now you're getting, you're getting new information through a different sensory process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you do this with beer too. If you slow
Yeah, we
down,
do.
it's the same food. It's the same thing. It's all going through the same thing.
You want me to slow down on my food, man? Get out
Yeah,
of
I'm
here.
sorry.
If you want to enjoy, you gotta breathe through your nose.
Yeah, that's
Well, we rush.
definitely-
We rush through life in every
Yeah.
aspect.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right. So we love to eat food. We love spices. We love it all, but we don't often. And I'm guilty of this, like everybody else. But we often don't slow down enough
Right,
to
to appreciate
fully
it.
dive in.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah.
how
That's
do
true.
you change? How do you train your palate? The easiest thing to do: you grocery shop,
Yeah.
produce aisle, pick up, smell everything. That will help you hone your palate, refine it, pick up nose. I mean, now with the pandemic, people might look at you strange, but
Right.
but if you, but that's the easiest thing you can do on a daily, on a weekly
it
basis.
trains you to be patient with the item. Like if we're more patient with the drinking and the tasting of the bourbon, you could taste what you said. You taste the vanilla, the cream soda of it all. When we sip it, like what I used to do before today.
That would have been a shot.
Yeah, and I would never drink this.
Yeah,
I would
right.
because it doesn't. But now I can appreciate it more, and I understand what people say when they're like, I don't mind a nice whiskey or a nice bourbon. But training yourself is smelling it at the grocery store. You have more patience, and you have to have patience when you tasting good food and tasting
Yeah,
good
and
drink.
that's funny because I've seen people like, I'm not gonna lie, only at Whole Foods, people be smelling people smell their fruits and their vegetables and
Yeah.
stuff, and I'm like, weirdo, just get it and get out my way.
And now it makes a little bit more sense.
And now I understand. Thank you.
so.
Look, you just had the apple and the onion theory, and you didn't even know that you was.
So, Ron, how do you appreciate your whiskeys and bourbon? Neat on the rocks in the cocktail? Like, how do you prefer it?
Yeah, I get that question all the time. It really does depend. I mean, like right now with it being cooler weather, this is whiskey sipping weather, neat, right?
Right.
It also depends on the quality of the whiskey.
Okay.
So if I don't find I enjoy some aspect of the whiskey, it's got to go in a cocktail.
Gotcha.
And then I can add things in a cocktail that I know I like. If it works, great. But it is varied, just like it would be anything else. And then the other important thing here, if after that second or third sip you find that the alcohol is too high, adding a few drops of water to this kind of volume was going to drop that concentration of alcohol down, and it may get it to a place where it's truly palatable for you, right? So
Let's see what happens.
And it can so you don't want to pour. I would
Just
say,
What if I just drip a little?
yeah, I would say so. Normally in a
You don't think I'm
tasting,
gonna be safe
In a-
trying to use this?
you could maybe pour some into your water glass and then use your finger to shake off a couple of drops.
yeah.
Also,
might-
not even. as
Yeah, we're
much as
talking literally drops.
because you were going to put too much in there anyway.
So
You
in
think
a
I was?
That's what he's saying. He knew who you were. he said put your finger in there and dip it in from your finger.
Yeah, but now I don't know where my finger's been.
I knew that's where it's going to go. I knew it. I listen to enough of y'all's podcasts. I know it.
This grade changed the whole flavor of this.
Don't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Shut up, I'm just joking.
Just know it's not Ron's. Ron didn't do it.
So in a tasting, if I was hired to go out and do a tasting, I have these. I should have brought them out, but I have these eyedroppers with this water in there, and you're just literally taking a couple drops and a quarter ounce of of whiskey to
And
lower
it
the
changes-
concentration.
changes.
Yeah, give it a little swirl,
Yeah.
and it will change it.
Interesting.
How
Yep.
many proof is this with bourbon?
So this is 96.
Oh, okay.
So most of our whiskeys right now, we've reached this point in our company where we can bottle and bond our whiskeys, and so that's a huge deal for us. So what a bottled and bond whiskey means is that the whiskey was made at one distillery by one distiller in one season, aged for a minimum 4 years, and then bottled at 100 proof. All right. And so why is that an important accolade? It's because also on the back of the label, you'll find our distilled spirits permit number. And so what that gives the consumer is direct proof that we made that product. Right. And in this craft distilling space where a lot of people are purchasing whiskey or vodka or gin or whatever from other makers, and then bottling it under their own label, this is that proof of full production
we
here,
did it
full
here.
aging.
Right.
Yeah, we
You
did
can't
that
get
here.
you can't get this number.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's a totally traceable link to
Exactly.
There's no commingling of somebody else's spirit
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah,
And so a bit of a badge of honor, and it's something that you won't see from the bigger makers. It's you won't see it widely. It's just too much of a headache for them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So with the water drops,
Oh yeah.
definitely changed it.
I would imagine.
I almost can just throw this back. Actually, it cut back on the burn.
When people put ice on the rocks, I feel like they be drinking it faster too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, that's probably one of the purposes,
cuts
right?
it.
Kind of
Yeah.
to
So you,
slowly.
Yeah.
But see, it's crazy because I drink whiskey. I'll drink bourbon and stuff, right? And when I drink it, I don't want to put ice in it because to me because I'll be running my mouth and that ice get to melting and then now it's water on top and
right.
and
but
then
but throwing a little finger
Yeah.
a finger flick.
now one thing I can say is that my cousin's husband gave me these bullets that you put in the freezer
yeah, they don't melt.
and and you put it in there, it just keeps it cold. Doesn't change the flavor of it or anything. And it's like those are
Like a latex ice cube.
it's like pretty much. But it keeps it it just keeps it cold, but also
without
watering it down. Yeah.
The temperature can change your palate
Yeah,
too. So
absolutely.
the water, I tried to put this water out early enough so that the temperature would come up a little bit because I know too cold water can shock your palate and make it difficult for you to taste.
Now when it's Jesus tears.
Yeah. Mary Magdalene is in the bottle.
That's the name.
I don't like Jesus' tears. I like Joseph's tears. Joseph was mad that day.
Because that's some good water.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
You okay?
I was just.
You look like you was.
I was trying to move it
he was
around.
enjoying
You was in the spirit of the spirit.
I was letting it cook my mouth.
But it's
Could we try the chai?
definitely some good
You want
quality.
to go back to sweet?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
absolutely.
Hit me up.
Absolutely.
It's out here, might
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
what I was about to say. Don't be stingy.
So this is a different style of chai. Most chais that I don't know what you know, but most people associate chai with a black tea.
With the
So
tea, yeah.
like the Oregon chai,
Yeah.
that's Starbucks and all that.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is built around a red rooibos tea, and then it's. Well, why don't we just taste it, and I'll talk about why I think I failed my mark here.
Oh, you're not proud of it.
Yeah, that's the one he said he had to go tweak.
Yeah.
Oh, from the new one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the original that he
Right.
had the bottle of.
But it's sold out though.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. It's sold out.
Yeah, it's like them people who be like, I ain't putting this song out. This is trash. And then it get leaked, and it's their best
Like,
song
oh
ever.
my God, I can't believe this is a hit. Like I hate performing this song. I can't believe y'all sold this out. I got to make it better. When will the new version come out?
It already came out, sold out.
That's the one that sold out.
I'm behind.
Yeah.
There's so many different
So,
courses.
Oh,
so,
it smells good.
so the Campfire Cocoa, the first one you had, that came out Black Friday,
Okay.
and it was gone
It's
by
gone.
next week.
Ah.
The chai came out in September, and it was around 2 weeks or so, 3 weeks. And then in between that, we had a ginger liqueur for the first time. We've never made it, and we'll look to tweak that next year. Cause
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna get the untweaked one because I'm gonna make sure I leave here with that. I love anything ginger.
Do you?
Yeah.
I like ginger too, but it just didn't. It's not.
Seems like you're a hard man to please. You be like, you know what? I could do better.
I think even when he has something great,
Right.
next year is going to be
Right.
better.
It could be better.
Watch me put
But
my
that's how
elbow in it.
But that's how I got into it. So that first distillery I toured,
Right.
so they were talking about their yields on their mashes from their fermentation, and it just there's something in there that the numbers didn't make sense to me. I said that's really inefficient. They're leaving a lot of alcohol in the system, right? And so that's where I thought through my scientific process know how that we could certainly improve. I didn't know if they were working on it at all, and didn't even raise the question. But that's where I saw an efficiency and kind of understanding process. And fortunately, Mike is really good at that as well, and it works out for us.
So
I mean,
it
when
did work,
we first started making whiskey here, we were really, really inefficient. We made mistakes, right? We never ran this type of equipment by ourselves until we put it together and turned it on. We had no distilling, no formal distilling
Right.
backgrounds. Each of us volunteered at different distilleries to kind of hone our to open the door to hone our craft.
Yeah.
But I mean, gosh, we've made 500 gallons of polenta in that mash tun just because the recipe was wrong. And
Wow.
so I am the skinnier of the two of us, and I can fit in that mash tun. So I scraped that polenta off.
You got to get in there.
So yeah, I've been inside the still. We made grappa, and that just was a disaster in terms of trying to clean the still after. So I had to get in there and clean that up. But that's how you learn,
Right.
Yeah.
They weren't any epic failures,
Right.
but yeah, we make lots of mistakes, and so we were really inefficient on our yields too at the beginning. Then you start to methodically go through that process, and also talk to other people in the industry and learn and make those changes. Now these recipes, like for our bourbon and our standard products that are in distribution, it's a formula. It's very much a recipe, and I can teach anybody to do it.
That's perfect.
Does this have lemon in it?
So what do you think?
Does this have some kind
It's
of? Does
spicy
it
on
have
the
lemon
back
in
end
it?
of me.
No, so it's
Spicy, like I had a.
I feel like it's lemon in it.
I'm warm. I'm warmer, just as warm as I
It
was
smells
with the
like
bourbon.
lemon in it, but
I mean, it tastes like a chai
It
tea
tastes
I've had.
tea, yeah,
I had a chai.
It tastes more tea than those teas, than the three iterations that you're making.
Yeah.
This tastes more like tea than those do.
and it should.
yeah, this definitely does taste like tea.
Tastes like almost green
like
tea.
almost green
Yeah.
tea. Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is the spice note is too forward, so that heat is coming from cassia bark, the cinnamon. So
yes.
and there's
Yes.
and for me
Okay.
there's not enough balance. There are other herbs in there like cardamom, and they just really don't come through. So I made some changes to the recipe, not in terms of weights or measures, but I processed the cardamom. I cracked it essentially to get it to make it to give us the flavors that I
get
wanted.
the aroma more. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get a little bit more balance, less cassia bark.
How did
That's
you
so
even
weird,
think-
though.
How did you think that? Like, hold on, because the last year you didn't crack. I
did.
was like, I'm gonna crack it this time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just simple
Yeah.
tweaks. So we're adding cardamom pods, and so my question is, well,
Make 'em more
maybe I'm
floral,
not
you
getting
crack 'em
cardamom
open.
pods because it's not enough time in our extraction, right? So you can either extend the time or you can just upset the process a little bit. And so that was my approach.
That's a beautiful
And
idea. Yep.
simple.
To me, it kind of like tastes like a big red, like big, like towards the end when you're about to lose the flavor of your big red because you've been chewing it. So that's what it reminds me of after it's sitting on my tongue.
With the cinnamon.
Yeah, so this year's a little bit more balanced. It's the same measures and weights that are in there, but because we get the cardamom and there's a little bit more balance, I think overall.
So once you tasted the previous one with the new one, you were pleased on what you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I see the difference. I don't know if anybody else can.
Yeah,
and the
right.
only other place for me to play,
And I guess at this point,
I would like
that's
it to
what
be.
all that matters, that he sees the difference because he's the one that had to tweak.
No, I think the only real difference is that it's still sold out. I mean, and people still want it. I think it will sell next year. I think that's great. So the only other place for me to play is on the color. I got the flavor right. Now I don't have the color. I would like it so that this, if you've ever had this tea, it's not quite this amber,
Right.
but it's a little bit redder. So,
Right.
and I would like that. I know if I went with the black tea, this would be a little darker, but
Right.
the black tea would totally change the flavor. So.
Because I noticed that this one, the ginger liqueur almost looks like this, kind of, right?
Yeah, it's a little lighter straw
lighter.
color.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
yeah. It's really good.
I'm gonna mix that with.
I have another question. So, Painted Staves, what are we looking at in the future for Painted Staves? Like, where are we going?
That's a great question. Stability.
Yes, good start.
It's really hard to know where we're going. We here with what we do in terms of success isn't necessarily measured by income.
Right.
We're certainly profitable this year, profitable last year. We've been almost profitable every year we've opened the door within a few $100s. It's been really tight. We've managed it pretty well. But I'd like to continue to grow that profit side because we have investors in the company. I'd like to continue to grow that. But there's a certain ceiling here, income-wise, that I think we could realize, but we're nowhere near. Like, it's a Sunday in Smyrna. We're not packed like we were last night or the night before.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're only open 4 days a week, and we rarely are stress tested by capacity.
Oh, okay.
Right. So so I'd like to grow that and get us to a place where.
Yeah, I heard the assignment.
Bring your asses.
So I'd like to grow that to where we have problems in that arena.
Okay.
I mean, we got all those seats outside. We got an area for music, all that. So when we are full outside, full inside, then and consistent basis, then we can start to have some other questions. We had this crazy idea. Again, it would require money. So in the front of the building, downstairs there's a basement.
Oh, okay.
So from the old movie theater that this was, all the original air handling equipment is still down in there. It's a pretty big space, the old boiler. All that. We think it'd make a pretty cool speakeasy.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
or lounge,
Yes.
really lounge it up. It'd be dark, and so we think there's potential.
Password required and everything.
All that.
Why not?
Yeah. So if Smyrna could support that, if Mike and Ron, whoever else comes along, could support that, then I think that's
Nice.
That's a
That would be nice.
that's a really cool thing to
yeah,
do.
I
definitely.
like speakeasies. There's a lot of them in Philly. They're really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing is to perhaps try to find a way to make distribution work and reach more customers. And I don't know that distribution, the traditional sense of distribution, is the way that we're going to make that happen. I'm more excited about the potential for direct to consumer,
Right.
which it's funny we didn't talk about, but we've had legislation in every year, I don't know, since I've been in the business to try to get some relief on how we can reach our customers.
Yeah.
And so Delaware is one of 3 states that doesn't have some aspect of direct to consumer
right,
shipping, whether it be
yes.
wine or spirits or beer.
Right.
And we've been trying to get this done for quite some time. And I know, because I have customers reach out to me from across the United States. How do I get? I had your gin somewhere.
Right.
How do I get
Right,
it?
right.
And if I don't distribute there, then I can't ship it. So would love to see that. That could be a game changer. And I say could be, and until I had a conversation with a fellow distiller, Vanessa Braxton, a couple weeks ago, I wouldn't even thought that I should seriously approach direct-to-consumer shipping. But she's allowed to do this in her state, and it's been really lucrative for her.
Nice.
So it's taken a while, but it's and she has broad distribution as well, but that direct-to-consumer, controlling the message, controlling the releases, like little releases like this or like this to a whiskey connoisseur.
Right.
This would be gone. It'd be sold out. Now,
Absolutely.
I've sold most of it already, but I know that through direct mailings,
Yes.
Right.
where a distributor wouldn't carry it anyway.
Right.
Right.
We could totally sell it out.
Absolutely.
Right. Some nice packaging. You get it delivered to your thing and a nice little whatever
Right,
it is.
right.
Yeah, it'd definitely be
And
cool.
we're only one of 3 states.
Yeah.
What y'all doing down there in Dover?
Yeah, come on, man. Get it together. Get it together.
Yeah, it's we get a lot of pushback from labor, and we get a lot of pushback from the retailers here in the state. Retailers would say, "Well, we already carry your product," and the reality is they don't.
They don't. Right.
Or they say, "We would certainly carry your product," and I'm saying, "Well,
at a 100 and what's it?
Send me the PO. I'll send you the invoice.
Right.
But it's still at a 500% markup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So it's one thing, and we hear that all the time, and I get it. They have businesses too,
For sure.
and like most people, they fear a little bit of change. But the reality is this is going on all around us, and it hasn't shut down anybody's business.
Right.
It hasn't
Right.
prevented anybody on the retail side from sending their kids to nice schools.
That's
or
always my
providing-
confusion with
Because they wanna
these,
keep it.
Well, it's always funny
laws.
because I can go get that $2 can of beer at the liquor store, but when I go to the game, it's still $14. I'm still getting that same
right,
beer.
the same beer.
So
and
you're
it's
still going
14
to buy
bucks,
regardless.
yeah.
So if you
Right.
really want it, you're going to buy regardless.
Yep.
That's right.
It's the same beer.
Yeah.
That's
And
why you at the game like, damn, I don't think I'm gonna buy this. You got to talk to
You
yourself
driving the
for
whole
10
way up there
minutes.
like I ain't buying that $14 can and taking a picture of it.
And
Hey,
then
look
you
at
got
my
it. Yep.
$14 can. Hey guys, they had a Bronco on it.
Yeah,
That's true.
In this sphere, the big boy businesses, the Brown Formans, the Jim Beams, all those liquors are already in every liquor store.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're going to continue to be there, and very few people are going to pay the extra charges to have it shipped to their house.
Right.
So it just the logic arguments aren't there.
Right.
But in the end, it's not as I've learned. I think it's not about logic. It's about legislators wanting to keep position.
Right.
And so in the end, it's about money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about support.
True.
It's about money. So
Right.
it's not about any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So those are some ideas of what I would like to see in the industry.
Okay.
That's good.
Where we're going to go.
Good.
It's good.
So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Any more questions?
I
for
do
Ron?
have one more question.
All right.
The beautiful artwork. I would like to know. We were talking about it off mic earlier. So could you explain the artwork that you have around here, and also what it's doing for the business and for you guys in general?
Yeah. So very early on when we looked at this space, so we're sitting just inside of what would have been the old theater, so just inside these columns. And so when we looked at this space, when we were starting to finish it, Mike and I came up with this idea of featuring local art. So let's make this.
There we go. Local. See.
So this is our Painted Stave gallery, and we circulate through local art at least quarterly. Sometimes it's hard to find a new artist
Okay.
that is ready to show.
Yeah.
But every piece of art on the wall or every piece of art in here is for sale to customers. But where the gallery runs a little differently, instead of keeping a commission for the house, we donate that commission to a local nonprofit.
Okay.
So,
Nice.
That's awesome.
so that local nonprofit is the Delaware Aerospace Education Foundation. And specifically, we earmark the dollars we donate to them every year to support STEM programming for girls, K through
Okay.
12.
Awesome.
Nice.
So girls, and why girls? Girls get steered away from math,
Right.
science,
Yes.
engineering,
Right.
technology at an early age.
Right.
I got 2 girls and raising 2 girls,
Yeah.
and trying to do my part to help change that.
Right.
So we earmark that money. It goes towards after-school programs throughout the state of Delaware, and sometimes I get to go participate in math, science, engineering after-school project with
That's
with
awesome.
girls. So Agilent's involved in that as well. But that's where the money goes, and it's right here in Smyrna. It's a
Yeah.
local group.
Yeah.
That's nice, man.
One of the things that I'm trying to do is so you go to a grocery store when you check out,
Right.
right? So I'll put this out there to everybody because maybe somebody will make it happen. When you check out, there's always at the bottom they ask you if you want to round up or donate.
Right.
Right.
Who are you rounding up or donating to?
Seems like it's
No,
usually
no.
like Red Cross.
Like Red Cross, yeah,
Or
normally.
St. Jude's or
Yeah,
something.
Yeah,
So
St.
a
Jude's.
national organization,
Right.
and totally worthy, right? I want to change that for my POS system and make it a local. So if there's a button, we use a system, it doesn't matter who we use, but we use a system where I can't do that
Right.
easily, right? So I'd have to change my whole POS system
Yeah.
to get to be able to do that. But that mechanism generates billions of dollars
Yeah.
for those nonprofits. So if you could create a mechanism to put that capability in the hands of a local small business to support their local charity.
Absolutely.
Imagine how much passive income you could generate for that nonprofit.
Yeah, that's
so.
You're on to something here.
Well, I want somebody else to get on it. I actually floated this idea behind some people that can make it happen in different platforms.
Right.
Not a platform that I work with, and hopefully, my conversations, and ask didn't fall in.
At least spark the idea.
And maybe somebody. I understand.
Somebody at the nonprofit needs to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody, because it'll help the local nonprofit more than anything.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how much passive income you can generate.
Yeah.
Right.
Dope.
All right. Any more questions?
No, don't point at me, guys. I've been doing good.
Right.
I've been doing good.
Well, we want to
I'm
thank
working on myself.
Ryan Gomes for coming on the
Yes,
podcast.
and inviting us to this establishment.
This is very nice.
Very beautiful in here.
Before we wrap up, we all like to know how people can find you and the business on Instagram, physically, all that good stuff. How can they find Painted Stave?
Yeah, we have a website, /paintedstave.com, and then @paintedstave for Instagram, Facebook, all that. I didn't wear my Adizes today, but next time I'll wear my Adizes.
I got it.
I got it.
So,
What's the address to the physical location that we're at here?
it's 106 West Commerce Street, Smyrna. So we're in the old Smyrna Theater, across from the firehouse.
So if you're local guys, y'all know where that's at.
Yep.
And if you're not, GPS.
Put the address in. GPS. Use your address, GPS.
Right. I mean, Smyrna is becoming a little destination spot. It has a lot of different upcoming businesses around. So you definitely could make especially in the beverage industry. I know there's down the street, there's a brewery down the street, and then you have Painted Stave Hill as well. So you can make a nice day of it.
And you might be
Beautiful
interesting. So the last four businesses to open here in this town, all African American owned.
Nice.
Three restaurants, and then a boutique.
All right.
Nice.
So
It's on its way.
Smyrna's coming.
Yeah.
Smyrna's
On its
good.
way.
All right. Lou, how can they find you?
My name's Lou Belgium, guys. I'm on them Instagrams.
Yo.
You can find me on Instagram at what's it? Oh shit!
What is your name?
All this just did too much.
Don't
for
edit
me.
that. We're not
Don't
editing
edit
that.
You can find me on Instagram at IM302YODA.
Jesus Christ.
You can find Bruising Banter Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Bruising Banter Podcast. You can even go to www.bruisingbanterpodcast. Check us out. Get the merch if you want. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can even say, Alexa, play Bruising Banter Podcast, because we are on Amazon Music as well. Pandora and I heard it too.
What is it?
Oh, YouTube too. Smash that like button.
Oh yeah.
Facebook.
Go to YouTube.
Smash that like button.
Yes.
If you want to follow me, Rob G. Rob Stay Bruising. As always.
He tried to fight it. He tried to fight it. He tried to fight it.
I did. Until next time, this has been episode 192 of Bruising Banter Podcast. Painted Stave. I want to thank
192.
Ron again for coming through.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've
It's been
enjoyed it.
fun.
It's been fun.
Good. I'm glad you did.
Have a good week, everyone.
Until next time,
Yes.
Have a good week, everyone.
peace.
Have a good week.
Have a good week, everyone. Merry Christmas.
What you Steady pull. Just go. I'm feeling now. Not gonna use your regrets, but my blues I'm written now.